Welcome to Davinci Resolve tips and tricks. In this episode, I will show you how to recreate a bleach bypass effect. Bleach bypass, or often also called skip bleach or silver retention, is a photochemical process that renders films with high contrast and low saturation. In a nutshell, we will be recreating this process digitally inside Davinci Resolve. So let's dive in. For this occasion, I chose some shots that are very different to each other, mostly shot with Sony's FX6, A7S III, ARRI Mini LF, and this test shot from ARRI, just to see how versatile this process bleach bypass could be. So as you can see, all these shots are color managed, firstly, balanced. You can see that the node tree I'm using for all these shots is slightly different to the one I've been using and showing in this channel, and I still want to test it with a couple more projects that I have upcoming. And if I really keep liking, because I'm really liking what how efficient this is making me work, and I think it's speeding up my process as well, I will create a new video explaining how I use it and why it's still split this way. Because we were creating a look today, a bleach bypass look, we're gonna be working solely at a timeline level. So this is our ODT, which we're going from Davinci Resolve to Rec 09 and Gamma 2.4, and depending on the shots, this one, as I said, shot with an ARRI, Mini LF, Loxy into Davinci White Gamma, this the same, and all these are S-Log 3s. And then the ODT for all in at a timeline level. Now, as I said in the opening, if essentially a bleach bypass is a low saturation and high contrast, well, then it's just tweaking two things, right? Let's grab a node, let's amp the contrast, get the sat down, voila, isn't it? Well, at a very simplistic level, this is, and let's audition different shots. This is more or less what bleach bypass is, maybe even a bit more contrasty. Bleach bypass is simply that. More contrast, lower saturation. But there's better ways, more robust and complex ways of achieving this in a more pleasing looking way. Let's delete that node. I'm gonna create one node before our output device transform, and I'm gonna add another one and a layer mixer. I'm gonna start labeling things. I'm gonna call this color, and I'm gonna call this one black and white. So due to the skipping of the bleach and fix chemical process that washes away the silver in the film, the bleach bypass is a sort of combination of a black and white image and a color one. And what's best to mix this than a layer mixer? Now, I showed before in the channel that for me the best way of getting an image to be black and white is not doing this, just remove saturation, although this is clearly a black and white image. I think the most customizable way is coming to the 3x3 matrix, the RGB Mixer in Davinci Resolve, and clicking here, it says monochrome, and then you still have control over the RGB channels, the luminance of these channels, to create different looks to taste. So I'm gonna create something, bring the reds a bit up. Let's leave it here. I'm liking what I'm seeing. Then we come here to the layer mixer, and we're gonna use the composite mode of overlay. So we have black and white and color mixed right now. You can see for this specific image, and we can audition the rest, and we can see, I mean, it's working quite nice for this. You know, this very dark, very dark, very dark. I would say very, I mean, just only one, this one, there is a very bright image with harsh shadows, but for the rest it is quite dark. I'm gonna use this as my base image for creating this look. So there's two things that you can do. To start with, we can come here in the black and white node and we can keep refining this. Depending on the image, you can also manipulate the color, but let's start with black and white. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna utilize the curve to lift. Let's bring the highlights, create a nice roll off there, refining that curve to get to sort of contrast that you want to create. And also, if we come here to the color, so depending on the images, you can also work on the color node. What I like doing is using hue versus SAT to start with, and I'm gonna try to respect the skin tone. So I'm gonna use these swatches here. I'm gonna click on red and yellow, and then everything in between. I'm gonna, and you can see the blue at the back, right? I'm gonna desaturate a little bit. Actually, I'm gonna go a bit heavier. Then what I like doing, hue versus saturation. I'm gonna do the hue versus hue. I'm gonna grab the yellows. I'm gonna make them a little bit more in the marigold orange side. These reds, I'm gonna make them tiny bit, just ever so slightly more orange. And then same thing here and here. I'm gonna get the luminance, try not to affect skin tones, which are essential, and the same for the red. So I'm making these two, and I may push it further to see if I can get, it, yeah, there, a bit more orange. So I'm gonna disable all these. So I'm gonna zoom into this swatch here, the color checker, and before and after, before and after, before and after. Depending what again the scene you want, you can really tailor your colors here as much as you want. Going from here to here, I'm going for a Rec 709 with some previous adjustment of balancing to this more contrasty, less saturation. Still not, the colors look good. It's not that there's no colors, but if you don't, let's grab a different image that has less color, probably this one. Yeah, so you can see that all the punchy colors are being rolled back, and we're starting to create this. Oh, actually, we have created the Bleach Bypass effect. That's it. See you later. Bye. Nah, kidding. Stay with me for a bit longer. Yes, this is in essence the Bleach Bypass process. But if we get references of films in the top of my head that use Bleach Bypass, Saving Private Ryan is probably the prime example. I think it's one of the films that push the Bleach Bypass effect the most. But some other films, Delicatessen uses Bleach Bypass, Django Unchained, Fight Club, even Kill Bill. I think, yeah, I might be wrong, but I think Kill Bill uses a Bleach Bypass effect as well. Many films. I mean, this is a classic look, a classic effect that David Fincher has a lot. Fight Club is, it's amazing. It looks great. But what all these films, what do they have in common apart from being great? They were shot in film, and usually the Bleach Bypass goes hand in hand with characteristics of film such as halation, grain, glow, the glowy softness that an uncoated vintage lens will give you. So we can try to recreate on that. Why not? Let's start with halation, and let's think about it. We're gonna do halation, grain, glow, and some of the bits towards the end, but let's start from the beginning. Halation, yeah? So halation is the light that travels through the film and bounces back through the pressure plate on the camera, and then the diffused light, the reflected light, travels back through the negative. And as the red dye layer is closer to the plate, then it's why this sort of halo that the halation, quote unquote, gives you is red. So what I'm trying to say is this is one of the very first steps that happens when the light comes into your lens going through the negative. So let's add another node with Shift S, so previous node. Let's call this Halation. So yeah, if you come here to effects, let's grab Halation. Let's add it in. I mean, to start with, it's not too bad. We have, in terms of highlights, obviously we have the white here in his shirt, but I want to sort of concentrate on her highlights here and around the eye and this highlight here, you know, specular highlights. I'm gonna audition on and off, and I can see that it's quite very strong at the moment. So with here with the threshold slider, yeah, to the right there's nothing, you're just killing it, and then start riding it back until you start seeing it a little bit. And I like it where it's sitting there. It might be too strong, so if you come here to the dye layer reflections, and yeah, we're talking about the red dye, which is the one at the back when it reflects from the plate, so you can bring the strength a little bit down, so it becomes, you know, it's not 100%, you know, it is there. Let me come here to Array and see what the white is doing around the, there you go, the blacks. It is doing quite a lot, and actually, yeah, let me write it just a little bit there. So, you know, we're starting to get those characteristics that makes you feel it's more filmic. Then, you know, once we're exposing this negative, we're creating as well some grain. I'm gonna grab it here, so my next is grain. And actually, as I label this, try, I mean, this, I haven't noticed a huge lot of difference, but you can try and see what you like first. If you like grain first, if you like halation first. And again, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. I'm gonna try to go heavy-handed, because then when I compress this video for YouTube, it may just compress the grain a lot. But actually, I mean, it's quite fine. I'm zoomed in. Let me go like full screen. It's very subtle at the moment. Again, it is there. It's not screaming I'm here, but you don't really want to do that, do you? Let's see here around her skin tone. You know, it is quite prominent, but let's go back to this. But as I said, because of YouTube, I'm gonna come here to, I like 35, it's quite nice. To strength, I'm gonna put it to maybe 0.3. No, maybe it's too much. Yeah, 0.2, just to, yeah, to have it a bit more visible, and hoping that whatever compression YouTube applies, it will leave some of it so you can see it. Let's add some glow. Glow is not an inherent characteristic of film, but of vintage lenses or uncoated lenses. Let's come to glow. Let's pop it there. I think by default it doesn't do huge. It really depends on your images, right? It depends on the highlights of your image, but yeah, at the moment it's not doing much to any image, which is a good starting point. So if you come to select output and glow alone, and with the shine threshold, this will show you where this glow is going to be applied. So of course it wasn't applying to anything because it was, the threshold is too high. So if we start lowering this until the highlights, you know, certain highlights start appearing, this is the lamp here, let's stay here. And then the spread, so it's not so soft, I kind of like it there. Bring it back to glow image, and you can see the glow. You can always bring the gain a bit back. I think it's too much. And the other thing is we're gonna change the composite mode to screen. You know, so it's just the touch there. You can see it in the white swatch as well. Yeah, so it's glowing around those highlights. So up to here we have bleach bypass, obvious desaturation and more contrast, halation, let's stick to her pretty face, halation, yeah, you can see it, and the red halo, if you can't see it, this is obvious here. Yeah, this red halo. Grain quite a lot because I'm zoomed in quite a lot. Yeah, and display so you can actually see the grain. And then this is not the end, my friend. I'm gonna apply a film print and use the most popular film print ever, which is the Kodak 23A3. I showed this in a different video, more in detail, which I'm gonna link here for you to see. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna show you this ODT was coming from Davinci wide gamma, Davinci intermediate to straight to Rec 709. I could do, I'll show you, so you learn the possibilities. I'm gonna come to the film looks that come with Davinci Resolve. I'm gonna use the let's use the D65 wide point. Wow, horrible. And that is for two different reasons. These film looks are very strong, and they need certain type of input. Yeah, so we're outputting Rec 709 gamma 2.4. And let me show you something as well. If you come to the LUT folder here, and you come to the LUT in this question, the Rec 709 Kodak 23A3 D65, I'm gonna reveal it in our Finder, and I'm gonna right click. I'm gonna open this with text edit. The best or the proper pro LUTs will tell you what input do they need, and here you can see that the input needed is Cineon log, yeah, and the output, etc, etc, you know, for what type of display, Rec 709 gamma 2.4, etc. We're on good track, but where we're missing, what we're doing wrong is feeding this Cineon. So the easiest way is just changing the gamma 2.4 by Cineon film log. Voila, and now we're feeding the right input for this LUT. What I like doing, and you don't have to, I mean, with that option you are already winning. Sending to this, let me label it 23A3 LUT, the right input. But what I like doing is creating, and I'll show you why I like doing this. I'm gonna label it, I'm gonna create to Cineon, and I'm gonna grab another CST, I'm gonna pop it here, and if you go back, we're sending Rec 709 gamma 2.4. So that's what we are getting here, Rec 709 gamma 2.4, Rec 709, and then I'm gonna send this to Cineon film log, and it looks exactly the same. Now, why do I like doing this? For two reasons, and I'll show you a third one as well. One is if I want to compound this and I want to reduce the overall film look, yeah, I'm gonna go to 0. Yeah, up to here we are fine. You know, this is outputting Rec 709, you know, and this is the Bleach Bypass with these film characteristics, etc. What I'm adding here now is a bit of that, yeah, film emulation, and let's call it like just 50%, so it's not that strong. Yeah, so it's additive. If this didn't happen, we had what I showed you before, this going to Cineon. Then if I want to reduce the effect of this LUT, look, so because this is sending Cineon, is this flat, right? So it's not the same. You know, half of this, it looks still very flat. So it's not that I'm mixing. I could have that add like a layer mixer as well in a different way, rather than my compound node. But it's not the right mix, right? So I need this to be Rec 709, and then add the film look and tweak it to to taste. Now, the other way is what I usually do here. I'm gonna add parallel mixer. I'm gonna come to my gallery, LUT separation. I'm gonna add only the color of that LUT 2383 and the contrast. This is exactly the same as before, but I have the color in one node and the contrast in another. Now, I separated this by using the Davinci Resolve. Actually, I'm gonna show you what it looks inside. There we go. So yeah, this LUT, let me show you, D65. Yeah, by doing this little trick that I have a whole video on how to separate contrast and color from any LUT. If you click here, you'll watch it. So then we can control this separately. Yeah, we can reduce the contrast a little bit. We can kill the color or just leave the color. I like the amount of color there. And the other thing that we could do as well, if you think that this film changes your footage too much, is create an adjustment before the ODT, and let's call this adjustment, and we can reduce the gamma of, yeah, even maybe a tad of the highlight. Just the gamma is fine. Maybe change the contrast here to 7. Yeah, it's looking, let's see, I'm gonna select this plus this and audition that. You know, that's the film look. That's the film look we're applying. You can really see what it's doing. Yeah, it is quite a look. Maybe sometimes, and I'll do it here so you can see as well. The white point and the black point changes. So I'm going to create, after the film emulation, I'm going to create another adjustment. I'm going to use the curve to bring that black point back to where I wanted it, or where it was before. Maybe too much. Maybe just a tad like that. Why not? You know, high rays, shadows, it's a nice thing. If you want one more tip, this is completely not necessary, but I'll do it just because. So up to this point here, we're manipulating the negative, and then we added a film look here in positive, because we are adding an extra film stock. Sometimes you get added grain, so if you really like grain, you may be able to have the time of your life adding more grain. Again, another fine 35mm. You can check the strength, and then maybe write the opacity as well. I mean, you just so you know, these are no different type of grain. The grain is digital. These are just presets that changes the sliders to mimic different different grains. I really like that. And there you go. I mean, this is the closest to a David Fincher film, maybe even a bit more desaturated. But you know, with those highlights, maybe we should work on more of a adding to this look. Maybe in the same adjustment layer, we can introduce some sort of split toning, and we could come to probably, I mean, I usually do this, let's suppose this sort of middle gray, and let's start split toning from here, and do, yeah, so if we want a bit of, oops, to get here, with more like cyan shadows, what I'm doing is subtracting, so I'm subtracting red, and I'm gonna subtract Let's just drop a little bit, just a tiny bit of blue. And if you like, why not, let's get blue. Let's see what it does. It's off ever so slightly. Maybe green as well, ever so slightly there. And if you will, and if you want really like warm tones, yeah, just push that there. I'm really split toning. I could have done it in a different node, but I didn't, so that comes with an added contrast curve. But yeah, I mean, it is subtle. It's not very strong. It looks strong here because of the amount of shadows. So you can see what I'm doing to shadows. But yeah, I mean, yeah, very cyanotic there. We can see here as well. You know, I'm completely pushing towards the cyans heavily. Yeah, I mean, this could be some sort of David Fincher-ish film. And yeah, it's not looking too bad. Maybe this one, I think this one was a bit unbalanced originally. Let me just, yeah, I guess those skin tones. Yeah, very Fincher. Yeah, I do like it. It's very interesting, and it sort of works on all these different type of images. But anyway, yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something new. Yeah, until next time. See you. Bye.